The world situation is such in which it is more important to be able to live off the grid than ever. To be somewhere geographically, especially if you're in the United States right now, where you're not in a dense population center, where you're away from massive amounts of people. There's a lot of people that are not aware of what's taking place in the world right now. They think it's funny. They think certain things are still just conspiracy theories. And it is very unfortunate that a lot of people are still in the danger zone. Many of us have come to Costilla County because it's one of the best places to be in the coming years. It will be one of the best places to be if there's ever an EMP caused by either the sun or from a foreign government. If the electric grid goes down, this is the place you want to be, where people are already living without conventional electricity. And unfortunately, there are people in this world, in this country, in this community that have chosen all these years since 9/11 to remain ignorant as to what our own government is doing. The people that our own government is killing, they choose to remain ignorant to the weapons China's developing, Russia's developing. They choose to remain ignorant that America is for sale. And so we have these manufactured wars on the poor in rural America and also in the cities. And for those of you that know about my own racial background and the multicultural aspect of this community, I will have you know that we are being slandered and being called a white supremacist group. Who thought that Costilla County would be this nasty, and certain people inside this county would be suffering from such severe mental illness that they don't even recognize who their own potential friends could be. Costilla County is a place where I recommend people get land and develop their property even if you don't live here. Even if you just pay taxes and you come once in a while. This is beautiful land, and I believe that this is a great place to visit and go back to the city. You need to come out here and hear the silence. You feel the richness of beauty. You feel your own strength, your own power. There's less oxygen in the air. Try some healthy food. Try some exercise. Try some, running up and down a mountain. Try some skiing. This area is alive with pure earth energy. And there is nothing wrong with people that like to live close to the earth. And there is nothing wrong with the way some of our ancestors lived a very long time ago before technology, before civilization as we know it. Civilization, the system, rules and regulations have not made the world a happier, freer place. We have many men and women today in our society suffering from mental illness. And having lived in Portland, Oregon, and if you have not yet watched my Real Portlandia episode, especially my critics, watch that episode. And you'll understand a little bit more on a deeper level where I'm coming from. Where is Alex Ansary coming from? You know, some people send me emails on Facebook saying, what are you doing here in our county? What do you do for our economy? Who are you? I mean, what kind of invasiveness is this? Where you have people from a local community by the hundreds acting in a troll-like manner, acting almost as if they're all connected to a hive Borg mind, with none of them showing an appreciation for nature themselves, with none of them actually coming out here to the Rio Grande ranchos or the San Luis Valley ranchos or areas around Blanca and doing videos and sharing them with the YouTube community. Show me your appreciation for nature. Show me your spiritual interpretation of what is taking place on the earth right now politically. Other than laugh and just say he's mentally ill, understand I've dealt with thousands of people doing that to me in Portland. Oh, we don't want to hear about this. We want to hear about everything is perfect and how we're all enlightened goddesses and gods. Well, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. So right now, America is set up for a fall, especially with the actions of those in our own government that are not acting in a way that will benefit the United States, but truly are acting in a way that will end up with some of us shot, dead, hung, kidnapped, and trafficked down the line if this country is ever occupied by a foreign army. I recommend people watch that interview with Leon Legant, the man that had a vision of Colorado being a safe place. And ever since I interviewed this guy back in 2008, I have found others that have had dreams of this particular potential event that I think is going to occur after the 2021 time period. Around the dawn of the next solar cycle 25, with the energy of that solar cycle culminating around 2025. And then we look and find out that all the world's governments are preparing for World War III. And many of the world's governments have highlighted the post-2020s as the time frame where they believe it's more than likely that we're going to have this war. So they have telegraphed their intentions. They have built these weapons in space. Then you look at where Costilla County is on the map. Worst case scenario, I believe this is going to be one of the safest places in America to be due to the light population. So I am not interested in a lot of outsiders, especially those that could be trouble, especially white supremacist groups. I don't want them here. But I also don't want any other racial supremacist group here. This area is going through some major tensions right now in the solar cycle. And it is common for there to be tensions in communities, whatever the issue is, misunderstandings, when our Earth is being hit by many solar flares, when we have those geomagnetic storms, and we're having them. Right now, the geomagnetic field of this planet, our Earth's magnetic field, is very active in this particular part of the year. We don't even have to get into all the other things taking place, or fears or concerns about certain events taking place in the month of September, but from asteroid strikes to economic collapses to World War III, many people have been very concerned about this month. I only wish that those people that were concerned about these things spent less time on Facebook and the internet and spent more time getting politically involved in the local government. So people that have been asked out, that have been laid off, people that have had their jobs eliminated by this country, something the people of San Luis are not recognizing, that certain jobs have been destroyed and removed from this country forever and outsourced. People should spend far more time researching good places in America to live off the grid. Places that they enjoy being, because there's places to live off the grid, there's also contaminated places. There's also places that are off the grid that some people may not be ready for, and I think this is that type of a place. It holds a certain spiritual energy. Some people don't like the feeling of this place. It's too far removed from what it feels like to be in a major city with all that unnatural electromagnetic energy, which some human beings act like they're addicted to. So regardless of whatever happens here in the next few months, this is still going to be a place that people are going to come to, whether they're allowed to be here or whether they're considered criminals. People are going to continue to come to Costilla County. There are other people out there that are also concerned with strategic relocation, that through the act of synchronicity, they have found out about Costilla County. And I think that angels are leading survivors here. I believe that angels in this universe are leading survivors of the coming world war to Costilla County. And this is such a beautiful place that I have hope here for a family, to build a home, to expand my work, to make several documentary films, to continue to explore my own spirituality, to connect with my own soul, and heal from the life that I have lived inside the city, where there is so much pain and there is so much suffering. I invite people to Costilla County to investigate whether this place is right for you come 2016, because I believe that in the year 2016, especially with the new president after November, you're going to hear a lot more talks about war with China. And there's going to be a lot more rats in the cage, so to speak. At the last second, they're going to be trying to get out of these major cities. The good news is, if there is any good news in this mess, is that I don't see all this going down next month or the month after that. I believe it's going to be a couple years until we hit the wall, to where there is full economic collapse, or at least something to the point where the nations are being pitted against one another. The people of China are going to be told that the people of the United States caused their economic meltdown, and in the United States, they're going to be telling us that it's China's fault. Ooh, they're manipulating their yuan. This stuff's actually happening now. And as Putin becomes more popular, as the U.S. makes more threats against the world, putting nuclear weapons around the world, Russia responds likewise. And so does China. And so I would recommend, instead of spending your time on Facebook all day long and maybe listening to certain people in the alternative media that are just more interested in you being a listener and being another number than actually helping you, I would strongly reconsider an attitude that there is no hope, and I would reconsider the way that you're looking at reality, because there are beautiful places in America still to go. The problem is, every man and woman, it seems, quite a few of them, would rather have their own castle and not actually work together with others. I personally want my own space, and I don't mind living alone, but in certain projects and circumstances, just take a look at the activism here in Costilla County, where we are opposed to the proposed changes to the land use code. That threat brought us together. If there was no threat from Costilla County, most of us would not be talking to each other. It is only because of this threat of being pushed from our land, or land that we have permission to stay on, that we came together. So I believe that if there is a major event where there's some sort of announcement that our country has been invaded, that the defenses have been breached, I'll tell you what, at that moment in time, the people of San Luis and the people who live on the prairie, the people of Costilla County would come together to face this threat. But right now, you have people labeling us white supremacists that have never talked to us once in our life, that don't even give a damn that it's a multicultural community. Manny has Spanish blood. Michael is black. My father's from the Middle East. And there are other people here. There are some Native Americans that are here that are not necessarily at the forefront of all this. But I've also been told that some of those Native Americans that are here stay out of sight because they feel hated by the Spanish. And I think that we need to bring out the dialogue about the history of racism in this region, because racism is unacceptable. And apparently there are layers and layers of racism just emanating, oozing out of San Luis. They don't care what I've been through. They don't care. They don't want to hear my story. They want to say things and write things that will lead to people trying to hunt us down and kill us. And that's why this is being shared on YouTube, because we are no longer in Kansas. I came here to live off the grid, to become closer to spirit, to become closer to mountains, to be able to hear my own thoughts more clearly and write out those thoughts and write a book about my life. What has it been like in my shoes? Being truly multicultural and having people look at me funny and wonder where I'm from throughout the entirety of my 35 years of life. I don't think that there's anybody in this conversation, either those in San Luis that assume that, I'm racist and that I don't like Mexicans, or those that are what we would call white. I don't think there's anybody watching this video series that has been through more racism than I. There may be a few, some of you that are watching on YouTube. I don't think that the people of San Luis, though, nor some of the people living here in Costilla County in the prairie, have been through what I've been through. And so for me, this is a challenge. To face that level of evil, to me, it's truly spiritual warfare happening right now off the grid in Costilla County, where there are people at the verge of threatening our lives, but holding back from things that obviously would be criminal. But assassinating on our bodies, but our character. When someone is labeled a white supremacist, when someone is labeled a Nazi, to people with that primitive fear of outsiders, they're not going to check and find out whether those allegations are actually true. They're just going to go with it. And because some of these people don't understand about the solar flare cycle, they think what I'm talking about is just insane. Let me break this down real slowly. There's something called war psychosis. And every 9 to 11 years, our sun is very active, more active than the other parts of the solar cycle. And that's where you see the most wars, the most drug addiction, the most sexual assault, the most murder. And because of how we're affected biologically by the changes in the sun, we move from place to place to place. That's what humans do. Immigration into the United States has become a way of life for a long time for a lot of our ancestors. It is not natural for us to stay in one place and be bathing in cell phone towers and smart meters. What is wrong with some of you? that think that it's normal to live your life as a slave. Do some of you even realize that there is such a thing as slavery taking place in America right now? Slave away, just to have something you can rent that you'll never ever own. Slave away to, go out to a restaurant and feed your face. What's also interesting is the amount of people that are directing this hatred. It's amazing how many of them are physically obese from the poison tainted Monsanto corporate food, drinking the Coca-Cola, eating the Family Dollar food, eating the meat from Texas imported into their little grocery store, which is that meat filled with hormones and drugs. And they wonder why they are less than healthy. Doesn't matter where your ancestors are from on the planet. Your ancestors had to work for their food. Your ancestors had to grow their food. As a result, your ancestors were not fat, large slobs. I truly apologize, but there is no one of what I would call intelligence, physical beauty, or anything close that's involved in attacking us. I see people that are depressed, that have issues, some of them with drugs, or know people, or are living in an environment that has a drug problem. Then I find out Costilla County has the most amount of sex offenders, and I'm supposed to automatically believe that all crime out here is being caused by the wild prairie people when I've been out here for years. And I met crazy people out here. However, the level of hurtful comments that have been said about the people that live out here are just outrageous. And it's taught me a lot, though, about how this is truly spiritual warfare. And so when you're dealing with spiritual warfare, it's not really about race, and it's not really about class. It's about people that hate other people that they have never gotten a chance to know, will never get a chance to know, will never have a cup of coffee. And San Luis is not a town where they have a single meeting place where you could just go and talk to locals because they don't want us in their town. So, all we get is Costilla County Residents, the Facebook page, which looks like something that would be appealing to 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, and 9th graders at best. Even at the level where they supposedly attacked me, it's like, oh, he's crazy, and that's about it. That's all they've got. They can't actually deal with what's being discussed. They can't actually respond to my video where I say we should be growing quinoa in the San Luis Valley because it grows here. And it could be very good for the health of all of us. It could help stem that obesity problem that clearly is an issue in the town with some of the residents. I would say the most hateful residents, those that are actually calling myself and others a white supremacist. What is happening in Costilla County is spiritual warfare. And so I came off the grid to live in peace, to get away from society, aspects of society that are obsessed with where my father's seed is from or where my father or mother's seed is not. And from this incarnation on this planet, I can see the sickness within man and woman. Living in Portland got me ready for the small town crap that I'm seeing in San Luis. But I really appreciate those in San Luis that woke me up. I used to really think that this was a good place to be, and I still do. But I've had a lot of wake-up calls throughout my life that have shown me that just because you leave Babylon or the Matrix or the city doesn't mean that you have left the world of judgment and persecution. It doesn't mean that you could just go somewhere and not be feared and hated and smeared because you're an outsider. But it's also given me something to reflect on. When I was in Portland, I was very disturbed by what I saw outsiders do to our town, and how it created a more expensive environment where the rent tripled and doubled. Of course, the class of outsiders going to Portland are like the opposite of the type of people coming out here. And so I think the people coming out here that want to live outside the dollar system are a bigger asset to the people of San Luis than perhaps any other time in Costilla County history with people coming out here moving just to be alone. There are people out here now that have skill sets, educations, and part-time jobs that are very different than past Costilla County residents or immigrants. People that have immigrated here from other states in America. So this YouTube video will reach a few people, but it will not reach my greatest critics. My greatest critics will only share or watch videos in which they feel they can use something against me or make fun of me. They aren't really interested in hearing the whole story. They aren't really interested in hearing the full dialogue. They're interested in racial supremacy, yet at the same time labeling us that. So I would really recommend a number of things before I close this video. I would recommend that some of you that have considered moving to Costilla County, that you get serious about it throughout this winter and next year. If you're able to insulate your RV, you can survive a winter out here in negative 20 or 30 if you have a proper heater. You can also install a rocket stove in your RV and not burn up the oxygen in it. This is what Hiram does. And other people have done inside their trailer or RV. They've put in a rocket stove. And so I'm more than willing to work with other people when it comes to this land right issue, property rights issue, to document what's taking place. But I certainly could use more allies. And I certainly don't want to stay in one place. Even if someone says I can stay at their place, I think it's important that I keep moving. It's also important that those watching this that don't want us here understand that I'm not a squatter. You may not like this. This may make you angry. But because of that video series, the Off the Grid video series, there's 4 parts down below, which is a mashup of really about 30 videos. Because the videos I shot out here in 2012 and 2013, over 20 to 30 couples or individuals with land out here have given me full permission to be here. So I'm actually going to be out here for some time. I'm not squatting on land that I don't have permission to be on, but there are new rules and regulations that are being proposed that would eliminate living in an RV. But there's going to be a lot of us building homes next year together for free. For free, we're going to help. We're not going to charge someone. We're going to help them build their home for free. And so there's going to be some of us that are going to stay out here, that are going to weather the storm, and we're going to invite others out. And because of the actions of Costilla County, it's only going to make certain people want to live out here even more. Because there are people out here that already bought their property. They're not about to be told that they don't have any property rights just because they're a gringo and there's Spanish racism here with potential threats of violence and retaliation. I will continue reporting on what's taking place, and I will encourage people to come out here, but I will also encourage people if they are able to build a colony of freedom in their own state, do that. Unless you're in an area that is not a good place to be for these coming events. And also consider that magnetic north is moving. This is scientifically proven. This is not quack science. The weather's changing. Geography's changing. People are changing. We're affected by what's taking place up there. And so one of the reasons why Costilla County is so great, again, look at where we are on Google Maps. And I mean satellite. Take a look at the satellite view of where I am. Type in San Luis, type in Masita, type in Garcia, New Mexico. And the reason why some of us don't want to be down in Taos is Taos is an area that has mostly been overtaken by wealthy Caucasian people with money. Many of us don't want to live in those areas because many of those people think just like some of the people in San Luis. Oh, we don't want to look at a trailer. We don't want to live in a community where there's people living off the grid. There are many people, places in Colorado where I went on a drive around Colorado, and there are some areas where there are no Hispanics. It's all white, it's all wealthy, and that's not the environment that I want. So none of these people in San Luis have a right to tell us based on our genetics or how much money we have. They don't have the right to tell us where we get to live. I'm not concerned with people calling me names because I have emotion. There are some people that are so spiritually sick on this planet Earth right now that they don't really understand that some emotions are good. It's good to have emotions and stand up against injustice. And I think there are some people in San Luis that ought to show a little bit more emotion, care, and love themselves. What this has also educated me on is you can live out here and be so disconnected from nature. If you just stay in your own little grid and you stay home and you stay on Facebook and you buy your alcohol every single day, smoking your cigarettes. I don't care if you think medical marijuana fights cancer. There's plenty of people that smoke pot just to stop thinking, just to stop feeling. Some people use that stuff just so they can be numb. Why be numb? Why not just change our lives and our thinking and our lifestyles to where we don't want to be numb, to where we like who we are, to where we like our environment. I didn't like my environment in Portland and what became of it. I like this environment. I like this land. I like the spirits here, the spiritual feeling here, and I'm not scared away. There are people sometimes that see lights in the sky, where they hear voices or whispers. I think that stuff's cool. There is nothing frightening here in this desert. I feel peace, but I'm very aware that there is an evil spirit. There is an archonic consciousness that does not want us to come together. There is an evil spirit here in this valley that likes war and conflict and drama. And I became aware of that long before this entanglement with some of the people in San Luis that are misidentifying us as a sovereign racist group. No, my first experience was dealing with some people out here in the desert that treated me a certain way because I came out here with very little. In November 2012, it was automatically assumed that I was mentally ill because I came out here without an RV and I survived weeks without firewood. That may have earned the respect of a few people, but a few people just thought that was weird. And unfortunately, we are now living in a society and a county to where if you are resilient, if you are powerful, if you are able, you can be seen as a threat. You can be seen as a threat. Now, when someone or something is perceived to be a threat, sometimes there is violence, and sometimes someone runs the other way. Today, I took a walk at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I saw the antelope up on the hill, and they saw me, and they took off. And I communicated in my mind and my spirit with the antelope. And I said, spirits of Costilla County, we're in trouble. We have trouble coming from that way. And I point to San Luis. We need help because this is spiritual war. And it's like they just stopped there at the top of the hill watching me. And animals will do that. But I believe that animals are more intelligent than some humans give them credit for. And so they watched me, and they listened, and they just watched me some more for a few minutes, and then they slowly walked away. If I was driving a car, they wouldn't stop, they'd keep going. Like, whoa, look at that, driving 50 miles an hour, that's some scary shit. And it's funny how things are so different several years later. You know, because I can remember having that little car before and seeing antelope out here in 2012 and 2013 just take off like I was after them. But if you're walking and those antelope are able to observe you or me from a safe distance, you know, it felt like there was a connection there. So one of the reasons why I'm doing these YouTube videos is to develop that connection with those members of San Luis that do not have hatred in their hearts. And I want to thank those citizens, residents of San Luis, that are currently there and those that have moved away that have messaged me and have given me a thumbs up. Especially those that know what it's like in San Luis, especially if you're from San Luis and you leave and you come back and people treat you like shit. You know, I've been really taking a lot of this stuff personally, but now that other people from San Luis are stepping forward and talking about how other people there treat them, now I understand. This isn't personal. This is spiritual warfare. And there is a spirit of evil that lives here. It's why some people deal with and suffer from drug addiction and alcoholism. Even though they're surrounded by beauty, their heart is still suffering. They are still filled with hate. They still have violent leanings. They still think it's okay to steal from others when they leave their property, go into the prairie, and steal everything that's not bolted down. That's sick. That is absolutely sick. I'm going to conclude here. The only reason I'm not worried for my life is for two main reasons. Number one, the things that I have done on this planet for other people have been good things. And I don't believe that I have that kind of karma coming to me. But in a worst case scenario, because of the good that I have done, I'm not afraid of them, and I'm not afraid of the federal government, and I'm not afraid of any foreign military. I don't promote fear on this channel, but I do warn people about coming storms that I see on the horizon. So you can either respect what I'm doing, heed my warnings, and appreciate the information and perspectives that I'm sharing, or you can tune out. But there is no point in arguing with people that hate us. Just put out the information, let people take what they want, and leave the rest. That can be said to the people of Texas. That can be said to the people of Oregon. That can be said to the people of Colorado. Every race represented. In every community that I visited, I've seen the same type of mindset, regardless of their race, regardless of their economic status, and regardless of any other perceived boxes. The majority of the people on the planet are stuck in slave think, and they're not going to be supportive of other people that are embracing their own freedom. I'm Alex Ansary. This has been another video produced in the San Luis Valley. My websites are alexansary.tv, thedailymatrix.com, worldwarzero.com. Stay up to date with all my videos over at youtube.com/alexansary. We'll talk to you next time.